Tonight, we may be witnessing a historical event. Currently, the government are debating what could be one of the most controversial laws in the history of UK politics. In a world where crime rates are climbing and the population is becoming increasingly paranoid, the UK is already the third most surveilled country globally, with very few urban areas remaining without camera coverage. And after this law may pass, the population of the UK will never be away from the watching eye of the government. The public have been outraged with the suggestion of the new law, with some calling it a complete invasion of privacy and others claiming it violates the whole degree of human rights. Is this a force for good, or are we getting closer to living in George Orwell's 1984? We will be getting exclusive access into the House of Commons, and then we will report back with the results of the vote.
Hello there. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Today, we need to debate the law of increasing surveillance on the general public. For people from the government, the road company, the government opposition, and the union will be debate this law. They are divided into the supporters and the opponents because of their different views of these proposals. The supporters agree with the law and the other side holds opposite views. In the debate, the supporters and opponents need to give their opinions and debate with disasters. First, the supporters will introduce the law and give his opinion.
Hi there. My name is Pralash Satyal and I am the MP for my local constituency of Yorkshire. I'm here to represent the views of me, myself, my colleagues, and what I believe to be the majority of the population. People of the committee, in this age of uncertainty, our proposal ensures national security. With access to key data, we can thwart potential threats before they materialise. Think of it as a preemptive strike against the enemies of our great nation. The proposal before us is not about intrusion, but rather about adapting to the evolving landscape of threats. Our nation faces great adversaries who exploit the very technology we use for our daily lives. This law allows us to harness the power of data to stay one step ahead. My esteemed colleagues will argue about privacy. But what is the cost of privacy when faced with a terrorist threat or a foreign power attempting to undermine our democracy? This is about making tough choices, but for a greater good. Our adversaries don't wait for us to reach a consensus. They act swiftly, adapting to exploit our very weaknesses. We must act now, decisively, to protect our citizens and maintain the integrity of our democratic institutions.
Thanks to the opinions from supporters, now we will make the opinions from the other sides.
Thank you, everyone. Esteemed colleagues, for your impassioned defense of this proposal. However, let's be clear about what we're really discussing here. The authorization of a surveillance apparatus, euphemism, for what would essentially be a state-sponsored spyware program. The UK government's eagerness to adopt these measures isn't born out of necessity, but is an attempt to legitimize what we've already been practicing with tempora. Yes, the UK government to this day neither confirms nor denies the existence of tempora, the mass surveillance system allegedly run by GC headquarters. You speak of urgency, but how urgent is it when our government has been engaging in mass surveillance for years? The pretext of the Israeli-Palestine conflict is a smokescreen, diverting attention from the uncomfortable truth that we've been spying on their own citizens without accountability. While framed as a measure to enhance national security, it aligns eerily with the government's desire for control. I mean, Suella Braverman's dream, as it were, is a police state where every dissenting voice can be monitored and, if necessary, repressed. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for opinions from the opponents. Now we will take the opinions from the other side.
I appreciate the passion in my colleagues' words, but let's not allow ourselves to be swayed by the conspiracy theories and fear-mongering. This proposal isn't a precursor to a police state. It's a message response to evolving threats in an increasingly complex world. We're already living in a dystopian future. With rising costs of living and inflation, the scramble of resources in our country has become particularly hostile. Within the UK, we can see increase in crime, murder, assault, illegal immigration, kidnapping, extortion, and even racketeering in levels never seen before. In a bid to curb this and restore law and order, the aim of our law is not to have you under constant surveillance, but rather to observe people who are geared towards or identified as people capable of committing crime, extremist, and antisocial behavior. The law in itself states that it allows smart devices such as the Amazon Alexa to record and monitor an individual if they say predetermined keywords such as bomb. They will record our conversations and send them to a team within the government for further assessment.
Thanks for the opinions from the supporters. And now we will take the opinions from the other side.
Yeah, firstly, I am very appreciate to the point that you hold, but in that case, it will lead to many other negative influence or costs. One case is Cambridge Analytica. In 2014, Cambridge Analytica collected the personal data of millions of Facebook users through a Facebook app called This Is Your Digital Life. And this app claimed it's to use for some academic research purpose, but in fact, they didn't use that for that. They just the data it was illegally shared with Cambridge Analytica, and Cambridge Analytica used this user data to create psychoanalytic models and to predict and also influence the voters' voting behavior. So this incident reflects the political questions behind the government surveillance law. Are our political positions, our voting rights, and also our attitude to political parties are known in advance through various surveillance channels by them and to manipulate our voting behaviors? So I think the answer is sure. So if such legislation is passed, the rights of citizens will be violated without our knowledge, and our daily actions and thoughts may be manipulated into biases, even if we don't know that.
It is aimed that with the success of this proposal, crime rate in the UK will reduce significantly. People will be safer on streets and businesses can resume business without fear and threat. Some of the advantages that we want to highlight from this is that there will be an immediate reduction in crime. Surveillance has been shown to reduce crime up to 51% in urban areas. This is a practical merit and an ethical imperative. We must ensure safety, and this is fundamental to the functioning of society and government. As we are becoming more polarized, we must take drastic measures in ensuring public safety. Reducing crime rates makes a safer, secure society, which is an ethical goal in itself.
Through collecting vast amounts of data through all households in the UK, not only will we be able to reduce crime from happening, we can stop crime before it even happens. Criminals are only getting smarter. It's only fair that we do as well. By the generation of predictive algorithms, we enhance our crime prevention and crime solving capabilities. Now, from an ethical standpoint, deploying these technologies is justified as they contribute to the greater good. They do this by protecting communities from potential harm. Now, preventing crime proactively is not just a matter of efficiency, but also of ethical responsibility, as we want to protect our citizens from harm before it can even occur.
We might live in a complex world, as you mentioned, but the fact remains that the misuse of data, industrial espionage, voting systems mistreatment, and more are well-known protocols and standards, which for me sounds very undemocratic and goes against the Article 12 and 17 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which reads, "No one shall be subjected to the arbitrary or unlawful interference with his or her privacy." The idea that surveillance immediately reduces crime by 51%, you said, oversimplifies the complex nature of crime prevention and undermines the very fabric of our democratic values. The ends do not always justify the means, especially when those means involve unwarranted intrusion into the life of law-abiding citizens. Thank you.
And if such a law is passed, the real-time monitoring of every individual will generate a huge amount of data, and it will grow every moment. Considering data breaches and information security issues, 5 million usernames and passwords were leaked in 2022 by Russian hackers. Additionally, we can't be sure whether the law will serve the purpose of preventing crime. Under the mass surveillance you are presenting, who will oversee and oversee since more and more the line between criminal illegal behavior and trivial political racist comments online will get blurred. This power lies in the hands of the shadow corporations whose structure we don't even understand. Thank you.
You know, I think to call it a shadow corporation is a bit oversighted, to be completely honest. It's not just a shadow corporation. The companies that we will be working with have been carefully vetted, not just by my team, but the entirety of the government. They've been following governmental standard procedures. You know, therefore, there's no shadow corporations involved. There's well-trusted, reputable ones that we've chosen for our own specific reasons. With this large amount of data that some hackers stole, you know, at the end of the day, it might have been a different government with weaker infrastructure to our government. So you've got nothing to worry about.
I need to remind you, by the way, that our purpose of this law is to act as a deterrent in our responsibility to prevent crime. We don't want to monitor people everywhere. We just want to monitor people who have the potential to commit crime. Deterring crime upholds peace in our society, which is fundamental in our ethical goal. It will save our economy in resources involved in prosecution and incarceration, and spares potential victims from harm.
Beautifully crafted political rhetoric. However, our counterpart hasn't yet again opened up about how and who will manage the data, and not even supply any legal documents on the internal structure of the organization. So again, with the lack of transparency, we cannot ensure the data will be treated fairly and securely. And to handle the kind of metadata for every single person in this country, if I were you, I would not trust this company to handle any sort of power over anything, honestly.
You win this time.
After a lengthy discussion, the government decided not to pass the law. This is a huge win for personal privacy and has pushed back the government's overbearing advancements into more and more personal surveillance. Let's hope that lawmakers take a lesson from this and refrain from any further attempts to encroach on our privacy. As a result of the bill failing, the stock price of the company suspected to be involved with the pushing of the deal has plummeted. This has raised even further suspicions of privately funded lobbying taking place behind closed doors. Further investigation will be conducted into this, but for now, that's all we have to report. Thank you for listening and have a good night.